Recently I've been reading a lot of books by the Western classical philosophers, people like Seneca, for example. And I've been reminded how important it is to have good logical argumentation capability, particularly in the modern climate. Now, all of us have debates or arguments from time to time. And what I've noticed is that there are some arguments that sound extremely persuasive, or some argumentation techniques that sound very persuasive. But in reality, from a logical perspective, they aren't worth anything. And I wanted to tell you 5 of the most common ones, so the next time that they happen against you, you can call people out for it. The first and very common one is called in Latin tu quoque, which means you too. It's basically the you're a hypocrite argument. Now the reason this isn't valid is because even hypocrites can tell the truth. Even a hypocrite can have a valid argument. An example of this is, Dad, you can't tell me not to smoke because you smoked when you were younger. But that has no relevance, the fact that the father smoked when he was younger, to the fact that smoking is harmful for your health. And so the hypocrisy argument in itself is not a good one. The second argument that often comes up is Strawman. And this is where your opponent or the debating partner will take a more extreme version of your position and attack that because it's easier to knock down. So a great example of this would be, well, actually a recent debate with the wall, Donald Trump, right? He accused Democrats that because they wanted to ease some immigration policies, they were in favor of unconstrained immigration, which clearly was not the case. That's called the straw man. It's easy to argue against unconstrained anything, much harder to argue against a policy that has shades of grey. The third very common argument is false dichotomy. This is where people are presented with only 2 options, as if they are the only 2 options, just right or wrong. Either we go to war or we look weak. It ignores all the many shades of grey in between and designs to polarize an audience and force them to choose one of potentially 2 unpalatable options. The fourth, extremely common logical fallacy is called post hoc ergo propter hoc in Latin, which basically is called the causal fallacy in English. It means that just because something A happens before B, A must have caused B. This is not correct. Of course it's not correct. A very classical parable in the English to explain this fallacy is the rooster. The rooster crows in the morning before the sun rises, and therefore someone says, well, the sun rises because the rooster crows. It doesn't. It's just a time sequence, right? The rooster crows, then the sun rises. There's no relation between them. Again, using Donald Trump as an example, his common claim is that the stock market has risen on his watch because of him. But is that really true? You'd have to look at the actual economics of the situation, but it's not necessarily the case that just because Donald Trump came in and then the stock market rose, the 2 are actually linked. It's just a time series. The final one that I wanted to talk to everybody about is the argument to pity. This is also very common because we are emotional and compassionate animals, and that's a good thing. But remember that your feelings doesn't necessarily have a bearing on whether a factual statement is true or false. This you commonly hear in courtrooms. For example, this man could not have possibly embezzled this money. He's suffering from cancer. How could you be so cruel? The fact that the man has cancer really has nothing to do with the factual assertion of whether he embezzled the money or not. It is designed to appeal to a jury's feeling of compassion to a man who is in a bad circumstance, to find him not guilty, not because of the facts, but because they pity him. These 5 are exceptionally common. Next time you're debating something or listening to a debate, listen out for each of these. I guarantee you will find loads of examples. And next time someone uses one of these against you, you can call him or her out for it and tell them what you're saying isn't logical. Respond to them with cool logic and you'll win more of your debates, you'll win more of your arguments.